guys, so we're at the dyno. Our main goals for today are to track down what the VVT does to the power output of the vehicle. If we could make more than 500 horsepower, I'd be ecstatic. Also, I want to see if this thing will make power over the factory rev limiter. We did retard the intake cam, so that should favor higher RPM power. So without further ado, let's strap this thing down and see what it does. Maybe I just forgot to tighten it. I drove it. Yeah.
Behind it.
Yeah. I mean, I drove it on the street quite a bit, and
yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Maybe heat cycles. Probably the rubber just got some heat cycles in it, and just.
248 horsepower at 5,100 RPM. What was that, Alan? 248 at 5,100. So I have no VVT in it, so I just wanted to see what it would do on a baseline. It did get down to 29 degrees last night. That rubber probably shrunk out a little bit. Yeah, I think I probably just didn't tighten it. Because that hose I had off and the hose down there I had off. Everything else I didn't touch. It was giving me an out so you didn't look like a complete Yeah, well, I kind of already did that.
So. We are human. That's just a fact.
You gotta see these guys. They come up here, lose hose clamps, blowing stuff all over the place.
I've seen worse.
Let's do it again.
Well, let's just start it up here a minute, guys.
Yep. Okay, that was actually 4.8 pounds of boost.
What's that?
That was only 4.8 pounds of boost. So the back pressure is... Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't totally lit yet.
Yeah.
It'll get better.
Yep.
You ready?
Rock on! Okay, so we'll throw some angle at it, and I'm going to just keep it at 5 pounds, throw some angle at it, probably like 12 degrees, and then, because that's what the factory does, and then we'll go plus or minus from there, and, okay, cool.
This will take more angle than before.
Well, I'm sure it will, yeah. I think we weren't even close to being done on the Fairmont, so.
It's got a big retarded cam in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got the 06 and later intake cam, and then I retarded it one tooth because I'm hoping it kind of makes more power up in the higher RPMs because I have a damper that lets me rev higher than the factory rev limiter.
Okay.
So,
what makes a damper for this thing?
BHJ. Yeah, these are super popular in competition eliminator.
Oh.
Yeah, they're small cubic inch and they got a really good cylinder head. And in competition eliminator, they take them to 10,200 RPM and
Wow.
Yeah, they make
That's
650 horsepower at 10,200 RPM.
Naturally aspirated.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no intention of ever doing that, but so I think I'm ready to try some angle and
Okay.
we'll see how it does. That was 4 pounds of boost.
4 pounds.
Yeah, it dropped a pound.
The back pressure went up.
Yeah.
I mean, that big motor's, you were the one talking about it, Gavin. You know that big motor's gonna want more turbine.
Yeah. Well, I put the largest housing, but
I know.
the Fairmont, it's got a 65 on it,
Yeah.
and it loves it. But we never measure back pressure, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you say it loves it. Wow. Yeah, factory cars run it 2 to 1 and they run all day.
Yeah.
Does that mean that's great for performance? No. No, it worked really nice to drive it though. Hey, you guys proved that it worked really good drag racing it too.
I'm gonna do the same pull, but I'm gonna do 20. Well, how about this? We'll match the intake cam. We'll go 6.2 degrees more. So, yeah, 18.7.
Boost and made 280.
So, yeah, so it picked up 10 horsepower, right?
Yeah, but the big thing is it picked up 400 RPMs, 500 RPMs.
So it wants to rev.
It's starting to
Right.
rev.
Okay.
Because what the problem is, if we would compare it to the other graph, at 4,000 it's only making 212 horsepower, which is going to be a sled.
Yeah, it was fat. I got to trim that out a little bit.
Boost was 4, what was the back pressure? 0 over 2.1.
See what happens when
Well,
we turn the boost up.
obviously it's not in its right
Yeah.
spot yet. So as
The
you
same-
put
yeah.
as you put the compressor in a different part of the map, it's going to react different. So obviously it's not in a good spot right
Yeah,
there.
we did the same thing on the Nova.
Yep.
It was horrible back pressure, and then we turned the boost up, and it was
Exactly.
happy.
You never know.
Yep.
It may get worse.
Did you?
I don't like your negativity.
All this negativity sucks.
I said could. I said it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I didn't say.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Right now we're wasting too much of the exhaust. That's what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah, which is still no good.
Yep. That back pressure is in the exhaust port.
Yeah,
Just so you know.
exactly.
So-
Yeah.
Oh, whoa. It's at the highest point of
Yes.
combustion, I think.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas typically you do it right beside the turbine.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
right on the
Yeah.
exhaust port.
Hey, I've done that though in a diesel with a lot of and it don't even really make much.
These exhaust ports really suck.
Wow.
They're bad. So that's why I qualify that. Yeah.
Okay, but at 300 horsepower, that ain't mattering yet.
Sure. Sure. All right, so I trimmed some fuel down low out of it.
Thank you.
And I'm throwing 23.7
And that's the
out.
noise you hear. Is that polluted?
Yeah, it's too much fuel. Yeah, the AFR gauge goes 10
Well,
out.
actually,
So
I mean, not to be argumentative, but it's actually, no, it's not too much fuel. It's just a lack of spark. It's a fire.
okay, Mr. Methanol.
It's only the 5700, and it's laying over.
Okay.
Below 4700, you need 18 degrees. At 4700 is when you need to start throwing the cam clamping at it, it looks like.
Okay, say that again.
Above 4,700, keep the high timing. Below that, keep it at 18.
Okay, that's not what I would have expected. I expected to hear more timing down low, less timing up
No,
top.
it's not what it's.
Okay, I can do
The
that.
numbers,
The number,
Are
that
saying
thing can't lie, man.
Yeah, no,
it's got a speed sensor on a roll.
I definitely would rather trust that.
yeah, we're talking 30 horsepower at low speed.
All right.
Boost pressure.
Probably like 55.
55, it starts deviating?
Yeah.
Okay, so up to that point it was making less power.
It was trying to give it angle, but it wouldn't go. It's not going to the angle it's commanding. It's giving it all it can, but it won't go.
So
There's a problem. It had zero angle.
that run,
It said it had zero angle on that, but it was giving it 100% because it was trying to meet the demand.
Sure. Yep. Makes
And
sense.
so it gave it all the angle. 23, it was able to control the 23.
right.
25, it ran off the end of the throws errors and stuff.
Right.
And I noticed that, but
Right.
it was like going to an angle when I told it to, and I'm like, I
But
think
then
it
basically
works.
it got too confused this time.
Right,
couldn't
it got
work at
too
all.
far off,
Exactly.
and it basically was returning that it was at 0 position, which makes the controller say, okay, give it all of the duty so that it changes to the
Right.
position you want. And
Look what never happened before. This curve was always
Oh
plateau.
yeah, absolutely.
so
yeah.
it likes all the angle
It
up
does.
top.
It definitely does.
Okay. Whatever happened on run 6, it didn't like on the bottom end.
It was giving it all the angle, the whole pool.
Okay,
It's
that
obvious.
explains
It
that.
does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what we want is this down low. It's dead
Absolutely.
down here, and you
Yeah.
can even hear it.
Okay.
So I put 22 in it because we already did 23.7.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it behaves itself by bringing it in more gradually. I'll keep an eye on it, and then yeah. Okay.
It needs more angle. We know that.
And because the other thing is, I can command this thing to just testing. I could command it to 33, but
But honestly, that doesn't make any difference. It's just like ignition time. You just pour it in there, quit making power.
right. I don't care what the angle it's saying. I know that physically that thing can't move more than 25 degrees. But it's giving me a range of -4 to 33 in here. I can command
Sure.
it anywhere from those ranges.
Sure.
It could be 20 degrees,
Right. Exactly.
but I don't know. I want to
Yeah.
put boost in it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put like 30% on the boost controller and see what that
And
makes.
you're stair stepping it in. You're gradually increasing it.
The timing on the cam, yeah. Between 2 and 4, it ramps from 0 to 18.7.
Yeah.
And then from 4 to 6, it goes from 18.7 to 23.7. All right, I'm ready to put boost in.
Good to go.
Yep.
Okay.
So 308, okay.
Yep.
At 5.5 pounds. That's more like it. That's like
Yeah.
I've always heard.
That's what the Fairmont did, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, around there. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this has a way worse cylinder head on it too.
Right. Yeah.
This is
but
the
you
older.
got a pretty good intake set up on
Yes.
this one. And I'll tell you what, dude, this intercooler works really good.
Yeah.
I've been checking it.
Yeah.
that converter.
Oh yeah.
It got hard to know voltage.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So 394 at 10.5 pounds. All right, 70%. That was 18 pounds of boost, and that was boost cut.
Oh, that was boost cut.
Yeah. What was the boost? 14.7?
Got 22 PSI back pressure.
Yeah.
Ain't bad.
Yeah, that converter's starting to struggle.
Yeah, it's still converting that guy.
Yep.
451 horsepower.
Okay.
More than the Fairmont.
Yeah.
What do you gonna put the timing in it to get it, or you gonna put more boost?
I'm gonna put timing in it, I think.
I think.
What do you think?
Because I think the boost controller is gonna be so touchy now.
Yeah.
That you're probably
Well,
gonna
it spiked up to 18 and then came back down.
Yeah.
So,
So now you know you got a good boost control setting
Yep.
that works good and holds.
yep.
You know, so now I'd say yeah. So
Yeah.
What's the boost fracture?
14.3. It was a little less.
yeah, big Calvin. It hits the converter so hard now, you're almost gonna run out of RPM.
Yeah, I know.
It only makes the horsepower for the last
Well, I can rev it higher.
Yeah. No, it's catching it. You're okay. Yeah. Right now, from 55 to 56,
Yeah.
it makes 40 more horsepower.
Yep.
Like Andy said, it's a
That was
512 converter.
17.5 degrees of timing.
That's it.
Yeah.
It liked the timing above.
Yeah, on top of like the top.
It did?
Yes.
How much?
12 horsepower.
Oh.
49.
More than that, it's 6.
Oh yeah, 6 is really, wow. Like 15 horse.
Okay.
More than that, huh?
So I should
20
put
horse.
I should put it back in?
23 horsepower.
23 horsepower, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
ton.
you better leave that in there.
Yeah, let's just add boost.
Let's just add, yeah.
That's what the Fairmont had in it
Yeah.
for timing, so
Yeah.
let's just stick with that for now.
I think that's right.
Yeah. 70%.
All in, huh?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm ramping it in though. I'm not.
I'll give it a nice rub
Yeah.
for you, Calvin. It's okay, buddy. You can do it.
Careful. That's fiberglass. That's fiberglass. Be careful.
That 2 degrees was 50 horsepower at some of the RPMs.
Okay.
Your peak number was the same, but it was this to this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna put any more timing in it.
Okay.
So, more boost. But back pressure ratio is about the same.
Yep, back pressure looking good, man.
Cool.
About 1.5, 1.6.
Yeah, they say these turbos are 600 crank horsepower. So, based on what their rating is, we should be close.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh well. If you increase the boost and the power goes down, that means you should stop. So. Alright guys, so after talking in the truck, we have a lot of conclusions that we can take away from this dyno session. The VVT control, I just want to say, it reads an angle in the computer. So I took that as it's reading the cam sensor right. The engine starts, idles, runs sequential, no issues. That being said, the exhaust cam on a Vortec 4200 should see 25 degrees of phase change over the travel of its travel. So it should go from 0 to 25. The numbers I was receiving on the computer, if I gave it 0% duty cycle, it reported a value of -4 degrees. If I gave it 100% duty cycle, it reported a value of 33 degrees. So that is 37 degrees of travel. Obviously, that's not accurate. I physically measured the travel in the Vortec 4200. I know it's 25 degrees. Obviously, there's some mistake there. So I was commanding values based on that flawed measuring system. So where we ended up, we played with VVT a whole bunch. Where we ended up was at 23.7 degrees, it made the most peak power and made quite a bit of power down low as well. How we fell on that number was if I retarded the intake cam 6.2 degrees, one tooth on the 58 tooth sprocket. So if you do the math, that is 6.2 degrees of intake retard. So the factory computer commands 12.5 degrees of retard on the exhaust cam at roughly 3,000 RPMs. So basically I tried 12.5. Then I said, let's match up to where the intake is retarded as well. So that is where the 0.7 came from. And we ended up at 18.7, and then we went another 5 beyond that. So when we tried to command 25 degrees, the computer lost the position of the cam and it started reporting a value of 0 degrees. This caused the closed loop control of the exhaust cam to give it all the duty cycle, and it retarded the cam all the way, which happens to be 25 degrees. So what we saw there was it didn't really pick up a whole lot of power, but realistically, I think a value of around 20 degrees of VVT angle is probably going to be the optimal angle. So that being said, I'm glad we finally tracked that down. The engine responds so much differently with proper VVT control. The only issue is it doesn't like to idle if you give it too much angle. So what we may try on future projects is we may try to put it on a relay. You know, we could literally just have a RPM activated switch that just activates the VVT solenoid. Perhaps that's something we could try. So there at the end, we are logging back pressure, and something that Dustin kind of suggested that we talk about is what were we doing there? This is something that a lot of people don't do. So the relation of back pressure, which is the pressure in the exhaust of the engine before the turbo, that is what is commonly referred to as back pressure. That relation in proportion to the amount of boost that you are making is a very important ratio. That will tell you when you are out of turbo. In our case, we are actually reading that pressure inside of the exhaust ports. This port here goes down into every single exhaust port. So that is very important to know because it's also reading the back pressure of the cylinder head. So that will tell you if your cylinder head is out of flow. Ideally, what we'd like to see is we'd like to see a pressure reading here just before the exhaust gases go into the turbine and the exhaust pressure in the exhaust port. Because then we could compare the two pressure readings and see how much pressure is being built by the exhaust ports. We didn't have that capability today, but perhaps in the future we could do that. So on our pools, we basically slowly increased the boost until we got to around 14.5 pounds of boost. The engine made 460 horsepower to the wheels, and then threw a little bit more boost control duty cycle at it, and it made 17 pounds of boost. However, it made less horsepower. It made around 415 horsepower, and that should be a red flag to anybody. If you turn up the boost and the power goes down, something's wrong. With the ability to read back pressure, we could very clearly see exactly what was wrong, because the back pressure in that 3 psi of boost increase, our back pressure increased by 8 psi. So very clearly it was like, nope, turbo's done. That is it. Turbo has no more to give. So that sort of leaves the question of, I just mentioned that this pressure sensor is reading inside of the exhaust ports. So is the head out or is the turbo out? If I had to make a conjecture, my guess would be that the cylinder head could produce more horsepower. Say we went to an 06 and later head, I think it could produce maybe 20-30 horsepower more, but I think the turbo is also out. They rate these turbos at around 600 horsepower, that is crankshaft horsepower. At 460 wheel horsepower, we are at around 540 crankshaft horsepower. So I think we're pretty close to the limits of the turbo as well. So where does that leave us? I'm very happy with the way the car has performed. It made, it's 2 years ago We had this on the Sloppy Mechanics dyno. It made 430 horsepower on around 14 pounds of boost. Now it's making 30 more horsepower. Some of you might be like, what did you do? Like, big deal. You know, you're making 30 more horsepower on the same pounds of boost. The difference is the engine responds completely differently. When you lay into the throttle and that converter is barely hanging on, is totally different to how it was a year and a half ago, where it was just kind of, it just kind of, you know. Now it's, you know, it's totally different. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the package. I think we have something here. I think we need to go to the track and figure it out. Honestly, my previous plans with this car were to take it to another level. I'm so happy with the way it's performing now that I'm like, I don't want to change it. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I love the way the turbo sounds. I love the way the engine sounds. I can rev it above 6,000 RPMs if I want, and it sounds really cool. It does big burnouts, you know. I'm honestly thrilled with it. I think you're gonna see this thing race at the track a couple times, and maybe we'll do something more serious with the next one. So stay tuned for that. And with that, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.